Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Daniel McCarthy. I'm really happy to be joined by Jackie Marks, the global head of trade brands at ALG Vacations, to chat a little bit today. Jackie, thank you so much. It's always such a pleasure to talk to you.
Good to see you as well, Daniel. It's good time to be in travel, busy, and glad we could find time to connect.
Yeah, and I guess just jumping right into it, I know we're almost at the end of Q3 here in 25, and throughout this year, the conversation's really been about traveler demand, consumer sentiment, things like that. I wanted to sort of get your take on how you see travel demand right now and how you see it evolving through the rest of the year, and maybe what that means specifically for travel advisors.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the good news, I said it, it's a good time to be in travel because I do think leisure demand for travel, it does remain strong despite, things that we see on the headlines and sensational, topics that are discussed. But consumers do continue to prioritize right now their vacation spend over other discretionary spend. They want those experiences. But that said, we are seeing some shift in consumer confidence, which really what that does is it impacts booking behavior. So traditionally, most advisor bookings will fall into what we call that 120-day plus booking window. So a much further out booking window. But recently, we've seen this double-digit growth in close-in bookings. So more bookings coming in inside 90 days of departure. So, with that, advisors really have to think about two things. One is they have to think about staying on top of deals and promotions with this last-minute demand that we're seeing. So watching for those weekly communications that go out and, even using our deal page on algvacations.com, because you want to stay abreast of where last minute demand could be sourced through when that consumer walks, through your door or calls you. And then the second part of this changing of the way the demand is coming in is to really try to give your clients more confidence to book further out. We're all better when, you book in advance where there's more inventory and choice. So one of the tools that I always recommend advisors push out is the Travel Protection Plus, because it gives travelers not only the reassurance to cancel for any reason, but it has a best price guarantee component. So you really want to look for those kinds of tools, because if price is why they're afraid to book right now, that they're going to get a better deal, Travel Protection Plus with ALGV gives them that peace of mind that's really essential to closing sales and knowing that if the price drops, they'll get the price later. And then one other thing I would just mention is that we are also seeing a little change in the group market. After 3 record-breaking years that we saw in group travel, there has been a slight softening, especially in the destination wedding segment, which this really actually mirrors industry research that shows weddings overall are slowing from post-COVID boom. So we, at ALG, for example, launched our most aggressive offer to capture more group business. But the thing in general is you have to respond to the marketplace. You have to look at the way the consumer is booking. It's not that they're not booking, they're just booking differently. So my biggest piece of advice, Daniel, would be for advisors to really make sure they're diversified, because if advisors focus solely on one segment, like weddings or cruises or Disney, it really does make them more vulnerable when the market shifts. So it's really good to have that expertise across multiple vacation products. They can have their expertise, but be versed in all of the products, and be up to date on your education programs. Make sure they're doing weekly webinars, and just be ready to sell what the consumer's looking for versus trying to stay in one lane.
Yeah, be agile, be ready. I mean, I know a lot of advisors have experienced that plenty in their career, but it seems like being agile, being ready to take those consumers last minute seems to be a big thing. I want to ask a little bit about destinations too, because I know something that's growing for ALG Vacations is different regions outside of sort of the typical sun destinations, and maybe outside of Europe as well too, which I know is a growth area anyway. But is there any destinations that you are seeing consumers sort of have more interest into, and then any advice for advisors to sort of stay agile on that front as well?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what we were kind of just talking about, is this need for advisors to really make sure that they're versed and ready to support all destinations. And I think Indo-Pacific is one of those regions, as you referenced, that I really do think that is emerging. And while I think there's some misconceptions about Indo-Pacific that I would just say that I think, to start with, advisors may think their consumers find that going to the Indo-Pacific region, which is an area we see growing, that it's too far or too expensive or luxury or, romance only. But, this is an area we're investing heavily in as, again, we see this demand shift from consumers. If you think about Europe, which is, go back a decade ago, there was a much smaller segment of the American population traveling to Europe. And now it's got to the point where there's over tourism in Europe. Yeah. So we are seeing consumers actively seeking out these new, unique destinations. And Hawaii, while it's always been iconic and really a key part of our business and our portfolio, this area of the Pacific Island region and what we're calling Indo-Pacific has really this new cultural and experiential, appeal that's really driving this new demand. So if you think of Fiji, a lot of people, if they don't know Fiji, it's a very adventurous destination. Tahiti, for example, would be, the romantic overwater bungalows. And then you have Thailand, which, gosh, White Lotus has done wonders for Thailand as the cultural depth, is grown and the awareness of Thailand has grown through that show. And then we even see rising interest in Abu Dhabi. So for us, it's really understanding that consumers right now are looking to get off the beaten path, and they are looking for different places to go other than the traditional Mexico, Caribbean, Hawaii, which while it's still the biggest part of our business, we are seeing this shift in demand. So for us, the focus on that and seeing that coming over the last year, caused us to look at our Blue Sky Tours brand, for example. And Blue Sky Tours has always been a Hawaii brand with some focus on Indo-Pacific. But now we're going to have over 150 destinations in that area so that advisors really can have this like one-stop shop. They can sell flights, hotels, excursions, and they can earn 15% commission on every single booking to that region. So we want to entice and incentivize advisors to look beyond the day-to-day of what they're booking today, get educated, and really understand that there's so much more to sell than just maybe the path that they've been on thus far.
Yeah, I completely agree. A lot of people talk about the ease of obtaining a passport now, which in the travel industry, I think we think it's just about accessibility, but so many more Americans are applying. It's easier than ever. You don't need to go anywhere. Like, I just think that international travel is just continue to grow. The world seems to be smaller now, so I completely agree. I do want to ask, though, when you mentioned new destinations, and then you spoke a little bit about the current destinations that are pretty popular with your clients as well. In your point of view in the industry, Jackie, how is the industry balancing sort of travel growth internationally, domestically, wherever it is, with community recovery and responsible tourism, which I know is pretty important to ALG Vacations?
Yeah, if you think about it, I guess the best way I would respond to that is, we don't exist without these destinations. So we do have a responsibility to support them. And that doesn't mean just with our bookings. It means, really respecting and prioritizing the needs of these destinations. So we talked a little bit about Hawaii. It's a very strong part of our business, but recovery is still ongoing, as we all know, in Maui. So we play a role, as do advisors, in guiding our travelers to be respectful and understanding what it means to support a destination and local businesses. So, for example, when we go on our FAM or do anything in Hawaii, we incorporate activities like recently we did tree planting in Lahaina to contribute to the community's ability to rebuild. So it's really this understanding of kindness in travel and what that means. When we talked about over tourism, what it means to respect a destination when they're facing, record number of people traveling to it, it's understanding what else can you offer to give your customers experiences that aren't so crowded. So if you think about it, like in Europe, we keep hearing the headlines of over tourism, and we have a responsibility to understand, not to just keep sending customers to places that can't necessarily support it, nor are customers going to have the best experience. So while it's really easy to say, send your customer to Greece because Greece is the headline news, our customers actually want something that is, more authentic than just that postcard shot from the Acropolis. So when you think about, your customers' interest in Greece, for example, think about destinations like Corfu that is in Greece, where you can give your customers incredible scenery, great shopping, great dining, and you're really being respectful to Greece as well in what it can handle and what your customers can experience. Or think of Paros in Greece. I always think of that as like people think of Mykonos as the vibrant nightlife and where they've got to go. But Paros offers a lot of great nightlife, and it's a little less crowded, for example. So it's, it's all of this idea of tying all this stuff together to understand that these destinations are the lifeline to what we do. So understanding their needs, their ability to support the customers we're sending, and ultimately in time of need, like in Hawaii or places, what can we do to really show that responsible tourism and that respect that has made us as travel providers successful, is balancing. This isn't just about sending a customer, this is about the whole experience.
Yeah. So I know we're running out of time a little bit, but I don't want to let you go without looking ahead a little bit. Where do you think the biggest growth areas are for travel advisors, and then for how is ALG Vacations helping travel advisors get to those bigger growth areas?
Yeah, I think it comes down to knowledge is incredibly important. So expanding their knowledge is really important. They say cash is king, but I say knowledge is keys to the kingdom.
Okay.
And in doing so, they are able to really learn about different destinations, which goes into what we've been talking about, diversifying destinations. And then ultimately, truly looking at those authentic, culturally immersive experiences. So, really ingraining themselves into that, because I believe advisors, one of their greatest strengths is they're able to curate those end to end trips, and they can provide tips that travelers just won't know on their own. So, when you package all that together, it's creating that peace of mind, that knowledge, that destination diversification, and less stress for the traveler. They absolutely do not want to have stress in their travel plan. So creating seamless bundling for them, putting all the air, the hotel, the transfers, the tours, putting it all together, putting that travel protection on that I referenced, the travel protection plus, cancel for any reason, give them that peace of mind that in this time of place where consumers' confidence is a little bit lower than normal, be that voice of giving them the peace of mind. And the marketing, use your marketing tools, tell the consumers, be in front of their face with the stuff that they want to hear and see to inspire them. So I still, as we started, I really believe it's a great time to be in travel, because now more than ever, consumers are going to look to us for that knowledge, for that, peace of mind. And we are, as an industry, very well positioned to deliver that to advisors, or to advisors to deliver that to their consumers.
Well, Jackie, it's always really nice to hear your point of view of the industry. I'm really interested to see how those regions develop in interest with consumers, and then also with the booking window. I think that's going to be really interesting as we head towards the end of the year here. But thank you so much for your time, and hope we can do this again soon.
Thank you so much. We'll see you at an event soon, I'm sure.